Bingo.
Mind your swear words. Phew, thank you for that.
Phew.
We're gonna fire that RB technology now. Have you take care of everything. Well, let's see. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, everybody else ready?
Gary,
Yeah?
are you two IT specialists, the only two in the office?
Rodney's over behind curtain number
Oh,
one.
Rodney's here.
Yeah. Since he's here, we'll start with him.
Start with Rodney. Are you taking notes, John?
Minutes, I guess. Minute by minute.
Minute by minute.
All right, we'll start with Rodney then for the road report.
Yeah, I don't have the agenda in front of me, so if you have it, Gary, just read it off and then I can
First road report.
follow along.
I guess the first thing I'd like to say is tomorrow we will have been over every road since mud dried up.
Nice.
Good.
And of course, we have some that we gotta go right back onto that were the early of those,
Right.
because they still had some frost still in them. But we're gaining fast on the ones that are in bad shape.
Right.
Doing a good job.
Yep, they are.
And I think that we haven't covered up an awful lot of that 2-inch, but we've been managed to pretty much bury it down enough so it shouldn't affect too many people.
Maybe the flat tires and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
We're kind of hoping, because I don't want to flatten anybody's tire, of course, but try to make next year even better.
Right, right.
And so I understand we got that grant for Whitney Hill, $20,000
For ditching.
for ditching up
Yeah.
there on top
Oh.
there. And George Eldridge is one that we were talking about using.
Oh, on hard scrabble.
Right.
Yeah.
And because he's one that put the bid together and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Well, because of prices and this and that, I sort of stuck my neck out and said that part of our money going into this project, we would bring the stone to his little log landing
Mhm.
and dump it so he could take it up there and put it into place as he was
Mhm.
doing the job. I just think that would speed the process, and we gotta do some anyhow to put our share into the business.
Yep.
And so I wanted to do that. And I've also planning on putting the grader and the ton truck into the parade.
Oh, yeah.
I got 2 operators that wanna drive them, and I was gonna put a backhoe in there, but I don't wanna drive it.
Well, that's unique. That's a good idea. At least I think it is.
Yeah.
And so I guess as long as everybody says it's fine, I've already registered them, but I could take them back.
John, can you hear Rodney okay?
He's going in and out a little bit, but yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. That yesterday, Rod proposed the grader and the 1-ton in the parade, and I thought it was a good idea and thought I'd wait till the meeting to run it by you guys. Should we make a motion or are we good with that?
I think we can just do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I think so.
it's not like it's gonna cost us a lot of money or anything.
No, and it's like you were saying, I think it's a good idea
Good
to
PR.
show a little bit of interest in that.
Yeah.
And
Didn't we bring the grader to the library,
yeah, we did.
the Please Touch Museum?
Yeah, big wheels, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah.
And
So this is the sequel.
And for the nitty gritty of things, truck 1 didn't pass inspection, so I had to have a drag link and a new rear main seal.
Which one is truck one?
I mean, not truck one, but
Oh.
truck six.
Oh, okay.
The newest four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Rear
And
main seal motor?
no, and the rear wheels.
Oh,
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 and the pinion, yeah.
And so anyway, we did all that work and I noticed this morning there's puddled oil on the damn ground. Now, what the heck we did wrong, I'm not sure whether the brand new seal was no good or what, but it still leaks, so we're gonna put another new one in it so we can get it inspected.
Put some sawdust in too.
And I was just telling Mike that this afternoon, the motor blew up on the chloride spreader.
Is that a Honda motor or something? Yeah.
And I was also saying, that I think we probably
I
might as well plan on motor and pump.
Yep.
Because I don't think you can separate those two and not have that just leak everywhere.
he said he could get one from the Florida place for $700.
Really?
and I,
Yeah,
I think that would be a steal,
Yes.
That's,
especially,
that was the price that, because Chelsea lost theirs and he, yeah, Rick was just telling me it cost him $700 to get a new one.
I think that's a steal.
yeah,
So,
I'd call him right up tomorrow morning.
I don't have much choice in the matter. I gotta get something going pretty soon.
Where would that come from?
Allstate,
All states, asphalt, all state,
I think it's an asphalt.
yeah, I know what the trucks look like.
And Rick just got one?
yeah, Chelsea just picked one up. And he was telling me the other day it cost him $700. And but I'm also a firm believer in what was yesterday may not be tomorrow. Might be $750 tomorrow. I just want to clear up that one price don't mean nothing anymore.
It's an
Yeah.
estimate. So everything's basically, equipment's holding together.
Yeah, everything seems to be doing good. We've been pretty much did all the necessary ditching on Beckno, Brockleback, and down Foundry with the backhoe. And now, because it's was such a mess this spring, we're doing 3/4 of a mile of ditching on Hoyt Hill there.
Mhm.
Because it's just, the ditch is full from landslide in that direction in mud season, I guess.
Yeah. So the road's actually squished outward or was it run
Yeah,
off?
the road up through there, there again, it did not help a whole heck of a lot when the new milk truck's a tractor trailer.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I passed a new milk truck, actually just in Royalton across from where we are in South Tunbridge, and it's one of those big guys. And it backs into, where Wally Clark's place is, Talpa.
yeah,
So it comes up and over from 14 and must go down to the intersection with Rick's and do a turn
really?
and then come back up and then back slowly from the crest
Yeah.
into Walls.
Yeah,
That thing is big.
Yeah.
It's a big trailer.
big truck.
I hear it's not gonna do it next winter either. So what are your plans for the next couple of weeks?
Oh, we still got plenty of grading to be done and some ditching to be done.
Oh, you're gonna start mowing?
The mowing machine will probably. I don't plan on mowing any next week.
No.
We did mow yesterday up on Hoyt Hill there where we're doing that ditching.
Mhm.
We mowed all that brush into the ditch, and when they're cleaning the ditch, they can take it right out of there.
Huh, yeah.
And so that we did mow yesterday, and then we'll be still getting these roads that were done first, done again, and it's kind of a vicious circle. Just keep on going until you get them wrapped up. Then we can have 3-4 weeks we can do other work. We won't have to do that.
Has Hook Construction started on that new bridge
He
yet?
hasn't yet, and I suppose I should call him and ask, but he probably won't be able to call me back and tell me nothing.
What bridge is that?
Down here, the
Belknap Brook Road.
Belknap,
Oh, okay.
right behind the big barns there.
Oh, right. Oh, dear.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Rodney, is there an ideal time to mow the chervil? I already see that it's in bloom.
Uh,
During the wintertime.
I don't even have close to an answer for you when I mow what I can mow. And then the next swath that should be mowed is still chervil, and the next 75 feet out into the field is still chervil. I think you're batting in the wind, to be honest with you, but we're trying to do our share.
Yeah,
Here, just real quick, I think,
that's all
so
we can do.
who knows about plants now, if it's in bloom and then it's gonna go to seed after that?
Yeah.
I think the bit that she's got on some land, she's trying to get it before it goes to seed, because if it goes to seed, then the chances of it expanding like you're seeing really go up. So
Oh,
just-
it does, and
Yeah.
so
big time.
we try to attack as quick as possible. But you also have to be within reason, because it's up in 3 more weeks after you mow it. So you have to be a little bit reasonable about how quickly you hurry, but try to get there while it's at least still in blossom. Because that's a weed that you can mow every 3 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, it just stays low, nothing else.
And without the landowner helping us out, there ain't nobody stopping it.
Yep. We'll have to get you a herd of goats and you can just herd them up down the roads and let them eat the chervil on the sides.
Well, we could try it.
Aren't there a bunch up on Bicknell Hill there, right? Isn't there a goat
Yes.
farm at the top? there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
much trouble up there.
Oh, there's-
And I don't know why it's so heavy up Dickerman way, but that seems to be really heavy up that way.
Yeah.
I don't know what caused that to be quite heavy up in that country, but
Mhm.
maybe it's the drop off from coming off from Randolph. up there.
For the brewery, it's got a lot of nutrients, when Ben dumps his stuff, it just goes down on.
Because
feed.
if you want to see white fields, you head right out Crossroad.
Yeah.
That is bad.
Anything else?
I don't have much more to give you.
All right. I guess you can go home.
I know that one.
Not far.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you, Rodney.
you're welcome.
Let me know what you find out about that pump thing.
Well, I guess everything is all quiet. I can't think of anything. Oh, I do have one little thing. Need to think about it. Is, because I don't have any answers on price or nothing else, but I'd like to see if we couldn't find at least some stone to put into our sand. If
Yeah.
feasible to do.
Well, check on it and see.
You mean stone from the quarries and Barry, the granite
Yeah,
stuff? Yeah.
manufactured sand or
Yeah.
something.
I'd like to mix something in with it. It's a possibility if you could make a good mixture of sand down the road, that maybe if cars didn't spin so much, you wouldn't tear the mud in so fast. I don't know. Don't know the answer for that.
Yeah,
I know
well,
old Ed Howe always told me, if you use good gravel for sand, you won't have mud. So I
that's
don't know.
right. Yeah, check out, see what you can find out.
I will be.
Remember, didn't Williamstown use, they were using ground up granite, right? from
Yep.
one of the quarries up there.
We just need to find the Star Trek or whatever it is, the teleporter to teleport it down here without trucking it.
Yeah, right.
Then it won't cost
Yeah.
us.
I know, Washington used it. And their complaints were that roads are too white.
Yeah, you
Right.
gotta mix it with
They gotta
something.
mix it with something to keep it brown because
Mhm.
even though they weren't slippery, everybody was afraid of
Green food coloring, I think.
them. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rodney.
He's gone. Rodney has left the building.
Who
Right.
else is there with you? Todd?
Todd Tyson's
Hi,
over here.
John. Yep, I stopped in after running around the area for a while. Got a little bit late, but thought I would sit in on this next portion.
That's the only other guest we have here in the building.
Can I,
Go
can
ahead.
I
Todd.
just butt in a second here? Since I have to do who's present here on Zoom. Anita's iPad, is that Anita Abbott?
We assume.
Yes, it is.
Okay, and who is the phone number? 802-238-0674.
That's Kevin Rose.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. All right, go ahead, Chair.
All right, next thing on the agenda, we're a little late, but legal trail signage decision. I guess we could start with George White, maybe. I see George is there, at least he was.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, there he is, yep. Do you have anything more to add about signage as we get started?
I don't think so in particular, just, yeah, I was thinking about it this afternoon. I just, not sure if I made it, clear enough at the last meeting that, signage would only be, of course, approved by the select board. And so, I didn't want you to think that, that I would just be putting up signs without checking with the select board about, what the signs ought to say and whether or not it was okay. So I think I did, just covering all bases there.
Yep, I think you did too.
Yeah, okay.
And my opinion is that the select board will take advice, I guess, from like the Trails Committee or anyone else about trails. For instance, if we get a whole bunch of rain in August and they're muddy or something like that, instead of us having to go out and scour the trails, if the Trails Committee says, man, they're really muddy, we ought to stop for a while, then probably the select board would say, stop for a while. So then we would tell you to put up a sign.
Yep, and that would be that'd be fine. I also had another thought about that subject in particular, that maybe it would be less work for the select board, to try and minimize the impact on you guys. If the sign for mud in particular was more general, like if it is wet and muddy, do not ride, do not bring your pony stick through. And maybe that would be simpler to have a sign that kind of just warned the trail user to be aware of the trail condition, but we can tailor that. That way, if you get a big storm in August, the sign has got you covered already the day after the big storm comes in already, by saying if it's wet and muddy, don't go through it.
No, you have a good example here on one of your papers that you sent along to us. It says ride dirt trails, not mud trails.
Yeah. Yep.
Anybody else got any comments about signage on legal trails?
I didn't see George's signs. Is there a? Did I bring my glasses? Hopefully I did. Yeah. No, Gary, that's probably your last pair.
They're any mine.
Actually, oh, they're not even your.
They're probably Helen.
Oh, yeah. there it is. But if you're-
Fades kind of, that's what he's talking about.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So George, this sign that Mike is referring to, ride dirt trails, not mud trails, that would be posted at all times, right? And then we're gonna hope that people go, oh, this clearly is a time when it got muddy. Or does that just get posted when we know it gets muddy?
That would be up all the time.
Oh,
So,
okay,
Yeah, so I would.
yep. So is this predicated on that the trails, being during dry season, which right now, I know we have a little bit of rain coming in, are then open to all non-motorized uses?
If that's what we decide, yeah.
Okay. if
But
that's
we
what you
haven't
decide.
decided
Yeah,
yet.
okay, yeah. All right, I've got some clarity, good.
Anyone else got any? Oh, I see. John Echeverria, you have your little yellow hand up.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the point was made last time that signs only make sense after decisions have been made about uses, and maintenance and repair, and whether the trails are going to be open and on what terms. So from my perspective, the whole discussion of signs, focus on signs, is sort of a little bit backwards. But let me just express well, first of all, let me say I submitted a detailed letter on behalf of myself and my wife, Karen Pratt. And I hope you got an opportunity to read that. And I'm happy to, I covered a lot of points. I'm happy to, respond to any questions you might have about what we put in that letter. And I want to be helpful. We want to be helpful to you. If not, I'll just make a few points. And that is, first and foremost, that we urge that the select board continue on the course that we thought the select board was on, which is to follow the recommendation of the planning commission and hire a natural resource consultant to look at the current trail routes and the area of any proposed trail reroutes. And the select board has talked about that several times over the course of the spring. And I understood that the planning commission's recommendation was being received with favor. I think the sort of operational question is how to implement that. And the very specific recommendation we would have is that the select board appoint a small group of people. I would volunteer maybe Rudy Rudell, because he's a lot of expertise here, and Jonathan Bicknell, because bless his heart, he agreed to be the head of the Trails Committee, to come up with a set of recommendations for consultants that the town could hire, then to come back to the select board at your next meeting with a recommendation or multiple recommendations, and then for the select board to choose a person to go out and do the assessment. And the timing would be good. The mud season is too early, but you don't want to wait till the end of the summer. So getting somebody out in early June would make a lot of sense. And with that person, the select board and the town as a whole would have the benefit of an objective professional assessment of the conditions on these various trails. In the meantime, we would urge that the town maintain the status quo and keep in place the current use policies and keep all the various options open. More generally, what we would recommend is this select board focus on trying to figure out a way to develop a more expeditious way of dealing with this issue. I know everyone is incredibly frustrated with the complexity and the slow pace of this decision-making process. And I was reflecting on the fact, and I think I can say this without fear of contradiction, that among all the voters and residents and taxpayers of the town of Tunbridge, I have attended more select board meetings, planning commission meetings, and trail committee meetings than anybody else in the community. And it has been very painful and very time consuming. And I wanted to come to a resolution. My recommendation, and again, this is directed directly at my friend Jonathan Bicknell, is that the Trails Committee be asked to take this in charge and work on this more intensively than is possible with monthly meetings. To really move this forward, I think it has to be on a bi-weekly basis or maybe on a weekly basis as needed, and really take a close look at the conditions of these trails and look at the reroutes and the conditions of the possible reroutes, and then come back in a matter of weeks, or if at most a few months, to come up with a definitive set of recommendations for the select board to consider. The concern I have with George's proposal is it seems to me that it's a very destructive, misguided idea. And it undercuts the recommendation of the Planning Commission and the work of the Trails Committee and the specific recommendations that they put forward. If you look back at the recommendations developed last September and the more detailed recommendations that came out of the Planning Commission in February, what they call for is a careful assessment of the conditions, the development of plans before the trails are open, the development of plans for the management of these trails. In the case of the Orchard Trail, hiring of a natural resource consultant to look at the trail and alternative routes. And what this proposal does is simply cast all that work aside, try to decide the issue expeditiously, and is simply not a deliberate and thoughtful process that's going to be based on professional assessment. The final point I want to emphasize, and I mentioned this in the letter, is if you accept the advice that you've been given by Paul Gillies, he says that in the absence of an enforceable ordinance, if the town opens up the trails to bicycles, that is, adopts a policy saying that this is open for bicycle use and tries to clear the trails or tries to authorize clearing of the trails, what that is going to mean in legal terms and in practical terms is that the trails are going to be open to Jeeps and Ford Broncos and one thing and another. You know, all of us who've been following this discussion are familiar with John O'Brien's famous encounter now with the convoy of Jeeps and trucks that tried to go through Lango's farm and down the Orchard Road. And very understandably, you know, the story goes, and you could contradict this, John, that John waved the convoy down and said, no, don't go here, you got to go the other way. Well, Paul Gillies says that if a trail has merely a policy governing use, that is worth, in legal terms, nothing at all. And that trails, in the absence of enforceable regulations, are open to all uses, which would mean that if George's proposal is accepted, then you know, any weekend over the course of the summer, the town, any individual select board member, the town as a whole, would be powerless to prevent convoys of trucks and Broncos from going down the Orchard Trail. And I guess the same is true of the Crossroad Trail. And nobody in these conversations has advocated that, but that would be the consequence. So again, we advocate that the current proposal, the current status quo rules and regulations be maintained in place, and that the town proceed with the recommendations of the Planning Commission and figure out a way to expedite the research and the planning and the decision-making that has to go into a good decision on these issues.
Thank you, John. I want to say a few words, and it's my opinion, and I'm not speaking for the board. But as I remember, their environmental study was supposed to be on the alternative trail to Orchard Road. And I don't remember it being on Orchard Road itself. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I remember.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
Gary, I think that is incorrect. If you go back to the recommendations from the Planning Commission, the proposal was to have a natural resource consultant look at the Orchard Trail and look at the well, you have to remember that when the Trails Commission, no, the proposal was to come up with a plan for the Orchard Trail and do an assessment of the Orchard Trail. And then the recommendation in the February recommendation of the Planning Commission, which brought up the idea of a natural resource consultant. The proposal there was the natural resource consultant look at the conditions on the Orchard Trail as it currently exists and all potential alternative routes. So that recommendation covered both the existing trail and any alternatives.
All right,
Well, the way I understood it, if we don't mess with nothing, we don't have to have any buddy check it out. Like,
right.
The
That,
only thing, if we start putting in culverts and building bridges, that's when we get in trouble.
yeah, because that brings me to kind of my second point was that, and I believe this, and it's, here again, it's my opinion, not everybody else's, but Paul Gillis said that a legal trail is basically a class 4 road, and the select board can control a class 4 road. And so I disagree with you, John, that if bicycles are allowed, Jeeps are allowed, everything else is allowed, we can restrict whatever we want. We can say nobody but walkers, we can say walkers and bicycles, but no other whatever, pogo sticks or whatever. And so that's where I'm coming from, because we can restrict things. And
I
so
think Gillies agree. I agree with you. That was Gillies' advice, and I think he was accurate in that respect. But he also said that in order for the select board to do that in an effective way, it has to do it by ordinance. If it wants to allow some uses and not others, it has to do it by ordinance. And then he addressed that in a set of questions that the chair of the planning commission directed to him, and he responded in writing. And those answers are laid out in that voluminous set of materials that are on the Trails Committee website. But he said, to my view, if all you have is a policy, then it's open for anything.
well, that could be, but my opinion also is if you put up a sign saying no Jeeps, it at least keep the honest people out. I mean, if somebody goes through at midnight, John's not going to be there, John O'Brien, to wave them down. I mean, and if someone goes through Orchard Road Trail at midnight with a Jeep, I'm quite sure the world won't come to an end. So I don't get your hand wringing quite so much.
Well, I think a lot of people, no one in the community has said they want to see Jeeps and four-wheel vehicles go down these trails.
I don't either.
And anybody who knows the law and the rules and is listening to this conversation, it will know that if all the town has got in place as a policy, then the next time John O'Brien stands in the road, they can say, John, with all due respect, get out of the way. And they will be within their rights to do so, according to Paul Gillies.
Well, okay. Anybody else got anything to comment about? Oh, Michael Saka, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. This is my opinion, and with all due respect, I think some of Mr. Chevrier's facts should be checked. I'm not sure that in this circumstance we can just take on word what he's saying, because I think I think Gary, you just sort of made this point that there may be different interpretations from what we're hearing in those discussions. So anyway, I would just move that Mr. Chevrier be fact checked before, this record, in terms of the record, at least. Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else with their hand up? Just a minute.
Ooh,
Oh,
whoa.
we had a temporary blip on the screen, but I guess everybody's back. Yes, Todd.
Well, yeah, just clarity and then also history. So clarity, and I am remembering the discussion of the natural resources assessment and a clear memory. This is not a foggy memory. And
We're
it's-
still recording.
Yeah, are people hearing us?
Yep.
Yeah, it's recording, there's an indication that it is, and we can,
Okay,
Is that the natural resources assessment was for the potential alternative trail. It was not for the existing orchard legal trail. There were some wetlands assessment done by state officials. Actually, I think John Echeverria brought one in. Numerous parties have walked both the orchard trail and the alternative, including George, Michael, John Echeverria, John Bicknell, Brenda Field, Rudy Rudell. A lot of people have walked the only alternative that has been suggested by Professor John Echeverria. My gathering of a lot of the feedback that came from that was very expensive, many bridges, which actually Professor Echeverria mentioned. There have to be bridges, probably some culverts to stay away from the wet area, etc. So just I don't recall any natural resources assessment. I do recall John saying he would pay, Gary, as you brought up at a recent meeting, that he was willing to pay possibly up to $4,000 for that assessment on the alternative trail, not on the original legal trail. So that's just clarification. And then the other part, as far as effectiveness of policy versus ordinance, for those of us who have been around a long time before Professor Echeverria bought the farm, that's interesting phrase, that didn't mean to say it that way, that non-motorized was the general policy. And I'm not aware that with that policy, which you say is maybe not enforceable according to Gilly's interpretation, there really weren't that many instances of four-wheelers or Jeeps or motorized vehicles going on any of the legal trails in the town of Tunbridge. So I really feel that's been a red herring that's been hanging out there. And I do appreciate, from a linguistic standpoint, your use of the term convoys. That's an interesting, we heard about the bike lobby, the massive bike lobby, and now we're hearing about convoys. Language is very important. Accuracy of language is very important, whether you're a lawyer or not. And I have a feeling that this will all be resolved in the general interest of the public of Tunbridge and the wider public.
Thank you, Todd. Anyone else? Well, let's review again why we're here talking about this. It was about signage, so we kind of got off track there a little bit. And it says here we're supposed to make a decision. I don't know if we're up to that or not. What do you think, John O'Brien?
Gary, I sent you and Mike an email, but you probably haven't seen it, just about next steps on this issue. And I just to summarize, I mean, I feel, I guess this is just me, but I think maybe I speak for the whole select board that now that we know that at least 3 of the legal trails have wetlands on them, I don't feel confident that we can come up with a policy or an ordinance until we get the Department of Environmental Conservation to tell us, you know, what rules we need to follow, you know, because it's not a matter of ignorance now, like we'll just do what we've always done. It's we know they're wetlands, and how does the town of Tunbridge responsibly, with a right of way that goes through wetlands, what do we do there, and who has access? What about seasonality? These issues, I would just like to know, get the state's approval, essentially, no matter what kind of policy or ordinance we come up with. I would feel a lot better if we went the extra mile and had the approval of the DEC or Agency of Natural Resources to you know, if they said no one should go through, or if they said pedestrians only, if they said, you know, no motorized vehicles, horses, bikes are okay, or if we need a boardwalk, all those kind of questions, I feel we sort of brought them up and then they never really got answered. So my recommendation would be to put on hold the policy or ordinance until we hear definitively from the state. just because, and all this is in, mindful of potential 1 or 2 legal suits coming too. So I just don't want to be in court saying, oh, we heard about that, but we didn't really get any answers, so we just went ahead.
That's why you're on the select board, John. You have come up with some good ideas.
Well, I don't know about that, but but it's good to have answers, I think. And
Yeah.
another question I think is, so those unintended consequences. I think we need to figure out a way legally for people who live off these legal trails. So, Deb Mullen takes a motorized vehicle down a legal trail, right, to get to her house.
Yep.
And my brother is building a house that he's going to access, the first 50 yards or so of a legal trail, to get to a driveway to go up to his house. So, how does that work out for Tunbridge homeowners who actually drive their motorized vehicles on legal trails, if we're going to be very specific about saying no motorized vehicles? So we need to find a workaround for that too.
All right. So my guess is that we need someone, somebody needs to contact someone from the state, because I think that's a great idea to actually get someone to come down and look at the legal trails and actually give us a report on them, and then a suggestion, like you said, as to what we might do with the legal trails. And I don't know if that's like just the DEC or whether well, no, I guess the AOT wouldn't be involved in that, but maybe Rudy would know, or is there someone out there tonight that knows the answer to that, who I would call? But if not, I'll call Rudy.
Yeah, I think we could get together with Rudy and maybe Jonathan Bicknell and just, really put some pressure on the DEC to come give us some definitive answers.
Do you agree, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I guess all 3 of us select board members are in agreement with that. So I guess that puts off the sign decision tonight. Other than the fact, if we're gonna, do we want to just plain restrict the use of legal trails until further notice or whatever?
I think, and then, as expeditiously as possible. I know it's hard with DEC, but to get some answers from them. I mean, I know with some, consultants who have already looked it over, and somebody from, I think, the wetlands rules has come and looked at the crossroads. So I think some work's been done already. And if we can just get them to, to a point of in writing, giving us some answers, that would be great.
So the question is, do we want to just put up signs that says only walkers or nobody at all on the legal trails? Oh, I'm sorry, Jonathan Bicknell, you have your hand up.
Thank you. Yeah, as you know, we put a lot of time in our recommendation. John referred to it earlier, right? So use it as a resource. Don't forget about it. So we identified Baptist Hill, Crossroad, and Orchard Road as needing to be reviewed by the state district wetlands ecologist. All right. So I just want to remind people that. Take a look. It's online. Take a look at it. Reread it. I think it's worth following. So
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I reread the Trails Committee and Planning Commission recommendations earlier today, and yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said. It just felt like, I think maybe this from select board on down, we just haven't been aggressive enough to track down some legal answers from the state. And I think that's where we need to go. And hopefully we could get it done in a month or 6 weeks, at least, see where DEC falls on all this.
Okay, John Echeverria, you have your hand up again, or at least I think you do.
I do. Thank you very much. I put in the chat a sort of the most critical excerpt from Gilly's response to Laura Ginsburg about the enforceability of policies and the need for legally enforceable regulations adopted through ordinance. So I hope it's been fact checked to Michael Saka's satisfaction. He goes on at even greater length than what I put in the chat, but it's all to the same effect. I went back and checked the February memo of the Planning Commission. The first line of it says the natural resource consultant should look at the Orchard Trail and it should look at all potential alternative routes. So there's no question that the Planning Commission wanted a natural resource consultant to look at the existing Orchard Trail. I hope that, I mean, I think what John O'Brien suggests makes sense, to get the wetland ecologists to come out and look and give the town guidance. I guess my question is, well, what about the alternative trail? Elijah Schumacher, when he came and looked at the trail, the Orchard Trail, also looked at a portion of the proposed alternative trail. And he, in his report that he provided to me, and it's since been provided to the select board and distributed around the town, he said that the portion of the proposed alternative trail that he looked at presented no conflicts with wetlands or buffer areas. He has not looked at the whole trail, the whole proposed alternative route. But my sense is that if the town succeeded in getting him out, that he could be enlisted to take a walk along the proposed alternative route, and he would provide an assessment of wetland conditions on that alternative route as well. And I don't know if that's a substitute for the natural resource consultant that the Planning Commission recommended, but it would be a positive step in that direction. Let's put it that way.
Now, who is this fellow you're talking about? What is his, what's his job?
Well, there's a woman named Julie Follensby, I think it is, who is the regional representative of DEC in charge of wetlands issues. Elijah Schumacher seems to be the #2 wetlands person for this region. And he was the guy who came out, I think it was last October, and walked the Orchard Trail. And so I think he would be probably the one who would come out again.
Gotcha. Thank you. Oh, George, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, John. And I think that's a really great idea, just to get the actual final word from the state on what they would like to see for any changes to any of the trail works. I don't think that you would be in danger to continue to use the trails as they have always been used, but I mean, this is a long-standing subject, and to wait another 4 or 6 weeks, I don't think is a bad idea in light of the good points of getting the information needed. But I also know the select board is very busy, and this has been a long, dragged out thing. I just want to offer any help that I can. If you want me to track down and do any correspondence to help set up any meetings with the DEC, if that would be helpful in any way, then that could be something off your plate, and then maybe set up a time for everybody to get out and observe the trails with the state and see what they have to say. So just wanted to throw that out there.
So you're offering to get hold of this Julie or Elijah for the select board, or on behalf of the select board?
Yeah, and just get the conversation going, and you guys, include you on all the messages, and you would just have to chime in with any input about what times might work for you and what times do not work for you. And I imagine that meeting, you might want that meeting to just be with the select board and the state, and not necessarily have any of this circus tagging along after you, making it more difficult than it needs to be. But, even if nobody's allowed to be on the meetings, which I don't think is a bad idea, I'm totally willing to do the legwork of getting it set up.
What do you think, Mr. McFeeters?
To take action and understanding between what makes for reasonable and sensible public.
Maureen McCullough, please mute yourself.
To ensure something like this never happens.
Probably not. Do you agree with that, John, with what Mike said? Thank you, Maureen.
I couldn't hear what Maureen was saying at all.
Oh,
Strangely.
I don't think Maureen was saying anything. Mike
Oh.
and I agree that it's okay with us if George takes the lead on this and contacts the DEC to get the ball rolling.
I would like to say something.
Okay,
Go ahead. Well, perhaps the Trails Subcommittee, Jonathan Bicknell, maybe you have some idea about this, should be involved in all of this, since I think this was our tasks that we were supposed to be, setting up who's responsible to come and setting up the times and contacting people. Am I right about that, Jonathan?
Boy, I'm glad I joined this meeting. My name's mentioned so many times. I think I'm okay with the select board and George taking care of this.
okay, well, I hope. Maureen, you're making a lot of noise.
Sorry, thank you.
Yep. I hope that whoever from the state will send us a report so we can all read the report. So I don't know necessarily that there needs to be a huge number of people tagging along with these people. So, I'm okay with that. So but anyway, back to you, John O'Brien. Are you okay with George spearheading this thing?
I think, if George, you want to report back to us, with what you find, I can also make an inquiry through email or phone call to, it used to be Laura LaPierre and Hannah Smith were the two heads of DEC, because they were in the, we did a lot of wetland work in house ag with them. And so I can get in touch with them and see, who further down the chain might, how fast we can get some boots on the ground looking at these trails.
Yep. Well, if I can be helpful, that's all I'm after. I just
Okay,
don't want
thanks.
this subject is overwhelming, and I'd like to do whatever I can to help.
Thanks, George.
All right, John. Well, okay, Jonathan Bicknell again.
Yeah. So one thing I would add is, Rudy is a good one, right? He's if I were to pick one person out of everyone to coordinate this, it would be Rudy. I would recommend that.
Okay. John Echeverria, do you have your hand up again?
I do, and I think it's, I understand the rationale for pursuing this inquiry, and I think it's a worthwhile step. But I urge the select board not to lose sight of alternatives and alternative routes. And I want to make sure that's part of the conversation. The February memorandum from the Planning Commission urged that the first sentence says that an assessment be done of the Orchard Trail and alternative routes, and that alternative routes be evaluated. And the question is, for me is, I'm concerned about wetlands, but as you know, I'm concerned about a lot of other things, including the prospect of bikes and electric bikes and multiple groups of 10 people a day going through the building envelope on the Dodge farm. And so I would hope that the inquiry is not being limited to wetlands constraints. And I say that even whether you're talking about the reroute, for potential reroute, or you're talking about the Orchard Trail. There are other natural resource issues, and there are a whole lot of other interests to be taken into account. There are many different users of these lands. They're walkers, they're horseback riders, and they're the interests of the landowners. And I guess I'm trying to figure out how, in processing all these, and how all these interests get taken into account in formulating a recommendation on how to go forward. And, you know, my recommendation, maybe it's not an appropriate one, is that the kind of intensive examination of the issue requires that this issue be sent back to the Trails Committee for intensive work on the issue. But it's, you know, it's not simply a matter of checking on the status of the wetlands.
All right, thank you.
Um,
Todd.
Yeah, I just, you know, the saga will reach a minimum of 2 years in August. The trails right now, legal trails, are definitely dry enough. I've been out on the Orchard Trail about 10 days ago for non-motorized uses. I can see where this decision is going tonight. I appreciate George's amazing patience here, and the Select Board's patience, and Jonathan Bicknell's patience, and the Planning Commission's patience. Not that we can set a hard deadline, but if you were to start from now, we're almost to Memorial Day, and say the trail season, as far as snow and rain and things getting wet, early October, mid-October, definitely signs like George is suggesting, trails muddy, don't use it, will be going up. Well, maybe they won't be going up, depending on how this all goes. But to have at least kind of a loose deadline, so there's a chance of saving maybe half of the trail season, which would be like August 1st, because then you'd have August and September left. There's a distinct possibility, and you're involving bureaucracies like the state. I understand their expertise. We've had a lot of experts in here, that another entire season of non-motorized trail use could be wiped out, which I think is in the interest of certain parties. So I am concerned about that. And I think when the experts are available, which hopefully will be in the next 4 to 6 weeks, I hear that that's a goal, that they will focus initially on the existing legal trail and come up with an assessment, I think relatively quickly, as to, unless there's lots of monsoons between now and then, about the viability of the wetlands, et cetera. I do hear Professor Echevarria bringing up other issues. I think there will always be other issues. I appreciate that John O'Brien mentioned the fact that there are not just general legal issues, but general legal lawsuit issues at play here. I know it's very complicated, but I think the best we can do expeditiously, and I appreciate Jonathan Bicknell saying that he feels that particularly George and Rudy are really adequate people to pursue this. And I think that's about all I have to say.
Thank you. Michael Saka, do you still have your hand up, or is it a mistake?
Just briefly, you had put the question out there, Gary, about whether the trails should stay open for walking at least. Yeah. And I would urge that stay in place, because you know, walking should be okay. But I would defer to experts, but I'd be surprised if walking wasn't okay, I guess.
Okay, thank you. I hate to ask this question, but does anyone else have anything to say? I guess not. Does
Gary?
Yes, John.
Was there some deadline or date where we had to either make a motion to keep the status quo, or to, you know, adopt a policy or an ordinance? Because I know we had talked about, we were sort of rushing to get something done for this meeting, and I wasn't sure if there was a date somewhere.
Memorial Day, weren't we?
Well, I think we had banned anybody being on the trails for mud season, and the kind of the date was Memorial Day weekend was when it was going to end. And so I guess I had in mind that at that point we needed to put different signs up saying whatever we're going to do going forward. And so, like Michael Saka said, maybe we ought to have signs up now, or as of next weekend, saying only walking is allowed.
There are signs up there now that say that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it says now. So it's more or less I mean, we can make a motion to continue with the status quo until some of these questions we're trying to find answers to are answered.
Yeah, the sign up by my sister's house on Crossroads says that the trails are under review, only walkers are allowed. So if those signs are up where they belong, I suspect we don't have to do anything.
Okay. And I think, I mean, to answer Todd and John Echeverria, that if, I just mostly want to hear from the DEC on the 2.4 miles of legal trails, as far as, you know, what's our responsibility with wetlands. And I think, John, this brings up that whole point, and I think the Trails Committee and the Planning Commission and the Select Board, I mean, we invite and encourage the future construction of trails and alternative routes, et cetera, and they're all going to have their own wetlands potential issues or legal issues or landowner issues. And so while we encourage that, let's, I think, just at the moment, focus on our 4 legal trails and get the state's approval on, you know, however those should be used or not used. And I think going forward, we can see if the state says no, you know, bicycles or horses on any of the legal trails, right? Then we go to Plan B, which is to find those alternative routes. And I think I'm looking forward in the future to, and this even encompasses the ATV users, is, you know, these sort of distinct groups of riders, I think, need to work with landowners and start developing trail networks, and not to have such a brouhaha over just these 4 legal trails, but to develop networks that you know, recreators can use and take advantage of.
Thank you, John. Good thoughts as always. So I guess if we've got the proper signage that we want, do we have to make a motion or something to keep those signs up? Because we've had a motion back in whenever it was in March or February to ban people from the trails. And now,
Well, we do a motion, say, we'll open up the trails
for walkers only.
until we make a further decision.
Right, it's kind of open-ended,
Yeah.
but that's okay.
Yeah,
Aren't they open to walkers now, or they weren't open to anybody?
I think we kind of said nobody's supposed to be on them during mud season, but
Oh, okay.
Maybe we don't
Say
need them.
walking only.
Well, I mean, our last motion is gonna expire, I guess is my point. So maybe we don't need another motion. Anyway, Jonathan Bicknell, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the signs are up on every trail. Who owned it last year?
Brenda Field.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to, I think Falls Hill may not have one. I'm not sure about the others.
Okay, I can contact Brenda. I'll put it on my to-do list to contact Rudy and Brenda.
She picked really good font.
What was that again?
It was a nice font, I thought.
nice one.
Font.
And the way it's printed
Oh,
out.
on the signs. Gotcha. It went right over my head.
You gotta use smaller words, John.
F-O-N-T's.
Smaller font.
It's a 4-letter word, right? F-O-N-T.
That's good.
You must have learned that in college or
Yeah.
something. All right,
So you want a motion or no motion?
no motion.
Okay. no
Unless
motion.
somebody, do you agree with that no motion thing, John O'Brien?
Given the signs are up, or we can have Brenda restore where they're not up anymore. Yeah, I think we just go with that. It says, you know, walkers only pending review.
Yep.
That's pretty much where we are. And I understand everybody's impatience, but we'll get there.
Okay, we will. All right, I think we've exhausted that subject for tonight.
You're okay.
We're gonna move on.
Leaving that weird looking thing out.
Yeah.
there? Yeah,
What is it?
just arrived today.
All right,
It's a Rivian electric pickup truck.
can you speak up so everybody can hear that? Todd has a new pickup truck. It's
That doesn't
sets
go.
out- sets outside.
Yeah.
He's telling us all about it now.
300 miles on a charge.
It's a,
Come on.
Riv-
Definitely cuts down on the fossil fuel usage.
it's a Rivian electric truck.
That's right.
And it's a, would you say 300 miles on a charge?
A little more than 300 miles on a charge.
Yep.
Just got it today after a 2-year waiting.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
this almost up to 2 years here, 2 years there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the magic time.
Tried driving it down a legal trail.
Do you
I
like
did,
it?
I did joke with the handlers about going, not to the Orchard Road, but to some other places. No, went on some class 3. It's fun.
Is
It
it
has,
four-wheel drive?
oh yeah. It can be switched to multiple drives.
Do you like it so far?
I do. It got some things, little minor things. It's got way too much cyber technology, which I knew going in, but if the software crashes, got problems.
You're stuck.
We just made sure, one of my initial questions was, so we have no Wi-Fi, the internet is down, the fob isn't working. Can I still get this truck to operate? Open the door, get it to start up? And I did get the right answer, yes. So
Yeah.
around here, that's what we need.
Good. All right, now we've had the truck review.
Okay, truck review. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, John.
Now we're gonna move on to animal
Yeah.
control officer discussion.
The sheriff stopped in yesterday for a minute, just cruising by. And I spoke to him about this.
Mhm.
And he said that he's got 2 deputies that have taken all this training and stuff. And one of them was a girl in Berkshire,
Really?
which he said maybe we could make some kind of deal with her to do something. So I guess he was gonna talk to her.
And she's a deputy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. But that's all I know.
So Mike, did he describe them that they were gonna be trained to be humane officers? Because that's the,
I think that's what he meant, that he had
Okay.
taken that humane training, they had taken
Yeah.
that humane training.
right,
And that this girl lived in Berkshire, which would be pretty close, and maybe we could get her to come when she
Yeah.
wasn't working or something like that, maybe.
right,
Because I told him we didn't have any constables, and he said, well, that's mainly dealing with dogs, right? And I said, yeah, mainly, the constable.
Would this humane officer, this woman, deal with dogs? Or do you know that?
Well, I don't know that.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that,
I don't know if they do that. Their main purpose is they can initiate and follow up on animal cruelty
right.
investigations.
But he kind of indicated that maybe, he was gonna talk to him, but maybe she would do something for us as an
Right,
animal
yeah.
control officer.
Yeah.
Being a deputy sheriff, she could.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Well, that'd be great because
I'm gonna keep after him a little bit.
Yes,
and-
please.
good. That would, in some ways, I'd feel, even if we had to come up with some budget money for it, I would feel a lot better about a trained humane officer doing what constables have done in the past in our town, just because they have a certain amount of training. And
That's another thing that we may have to hire someone to do that,
Yeah.
'cause apparently nobody's frothing at the mouth to be a constable, so.
right, yeah,
We may have to hire someone, to kind of do that.
right, yep.
All right, good work.
And as Mariah found out, I think ACOs require no training at all, so
Right.
it's
Right.
kind of,
But I just thought if we could get someone that's a deputy,
Yeah.
already a deputy, then.
yeah, good idea.
Well, just they would have training how to deal with people, for
Right.
instance.
Right,
And like
number
the-
one, plus they know the legal stuff.
Right.
Uh,
And like the dog incident on the top of Stratford Road, if
Right.
somebody pulls in, they know their stuff, maybe I'm
Right.
actually a magistrate. Yeah, that dog agrees too. Was that Brock?
I think so.
Oh, Fred Pond, you have your hand up, is that true? Or
I
you-
do not believe I have my hand up, Gary Mullen.
There's a little hand up, Fred.
It is?
Don't put your hand up if you don't mean it.
I didn't put my hand up, darn it.
Oh, maybe that's the. Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
it wasn't your hand.
It's the cursor, but it turned into a hand though. See? See that?
Uh,
That's what I'm talking about.
Maybe I should do some training for you and I could put my hand up so you know what it looks like. There, like this? Yeah,
Yeah, that's a hand. That's a
that's a
hand.
hand.
that's it.
Give us the thumbs up.
All right, buddy.
Too good.
Oh, God.
Oh, there goes some fireworks or something, or is that an ice cream cone?
Ice cream cone.
Oh. Fred.
It is sad.
All right. It says here, other business.
Do we have to do our appointing
We're supposed to.
tonight?
Yeah, we should, because I think last year we didn't do
All
it.
right.
So we're gonna, under other business, we're gonna appoint our appointees. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Gary, what are we up to?
We're on other business. We're
What
on
are we
other
up to?
business- other business, and we're gonna appoint the
Town
people.
officers and representatives.
I've got my
Okay.
lawn signs out so I can be fence viewer again.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, do we have to appoint all these people?
We should.
Okay. So that,
Well, some like constable, the elected ones that didn't get filled, we
Right.
might have to do some digging on those.
but these are the ones that we appoint every year,
Right, okay.
these guys here.
As in, if we haven't heard them wanting to not do it, they're gonna do it again.
If they aren't here, then
Sometimes that's the best way to appoint
too
somebody.
bad.
What's the first
The
one?
first one who isn't here is Administrative Assistant Mariah Silly. So,
Let's try her again, see how she
I-
does.
yeah, she didn't do too well last time, but
She's not here tonight.
we'll give her another shot.
Should,
So I make a motion, we appoint Mariah Silly Administrative Assistant.
so moved. I second it.
Okay. There we go.
I move the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 ADA Coordinator, the position is currently open.
I think we have to pass on that for the moment.
Conservation Commission is Betsy Geiser, Ellen Hosford, Eliza Minucci, and Aaron Weed.
That has changed some.
They don't have a I thought we did some of these. They had a staggered
I thought
appointment
we did too.
schedule.
Right. Maybe we better wait on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fence viewers.
We did Betsy not too long ago.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Fence viewers, Gary Mullen, John O'Brien, John Pease Jr. What's your pleasure?
I think we ought to renew.
I
all three
make
of
a
them.
motion that we appoint Gary Mullen, John O'Brien, John Pease Jr., the fence viewers for the ensuing year.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Got a conflict of
Aye.
interest?
Probably.
Second yourself.
Yeah, I think Mike's gotta make the motion, second it, and vote on it all by himself.
Fire warden, Brenda Field. I make a motion, we appoint Brenda Field, fire warden.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 She did an excellent job.
Floodplain administrator, Rudy Rudell. I make a motion that we appoint Rudy Rudell, floodplain administrator.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Green up coordinator, it says position open, but I thought we had
Yeah.
put Eliza Minucci in.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
what-
let's appoint her anyway.
Okay. I make a motion, we appoint Eliza Minucci, green up coordinator.
I second that.
All in favor with Eliza, say aye.
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 Health Officer Jody Hoyt. I make a motion that we appoint Jody Hoyt Health Officer.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Can we get sidetracked just for a minute?
What?
Can we sidetrack just for a minute?
What? Is this another pickup thing?
No,
Oh,
it's Jody, or the town nurse.
Oh.
We ought to take care of that tonight.
oh,
I
okay.
mean, once we get done with this.
Well, we could appoint, we're gonna appoint that position, right?
it's
No, I think we have to hire that position.
Right,
I think we have to, have,
we have to warn it maybe, or not warn it,
Yeah,
but advertise.
right, have, exactly.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
But I just didn't want to forget about it.
Okay, because Betsy Race said some other woman was interested in that,
Oh,
that was sitting behind her.
oh, yeah.
Can't remember her name. But.
Hmm.
Pound keeper, dogs only. Tammy Mullen. I appoint Tammy Mullen pound keeper. No, I make a motion, we appoint Tammy Mullen pound keeper.
Now you see who the real power is.
Did you second that? Jeff?
I second that motion.
All right. All in favor of Tammy as pound keeper, say aye.
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 Road foreman, Rodney Hoyt. I make a motion, we appoint Rodney Hoyt. Road foreman, why is that?
That seems weird.
Wouldn't that be the same as a nurse?
Yeah, I think. I mean,
I
he's
think-
an employee,
But we're not looking for a new guy.
right? I think we could skip over that. What do you think, John? You're in the legislature.
Well, it seems like if they're serving, I don't know why, I guess we appoint one, but it seems like
Yeah, but a fence viewer would be the
sort
same.
of but like the town clerk and the treasurer going forward, it's same sort of thing. Like once you're hired,
Right,
it seems like you just keep serving until you no longer want to or you get fired.
Until, yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know why road foreman is necessarily on a yearly appointment. We should have Mariah or somebody ask the league about that, because that seems weird to me.
Well, can we just appoint him anyway and then?
Yeah, we can.
Make a motion, to appoint him. Road foreman, Rodney Hoyt as road foreman.
I second it.
All in favor of Rodney as road foreman, say aye.
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 Service officer, we're
Aye.
gonna skip over that.
Oh, you want to do that again?
Wait, we didn't do recycling coordinator, did we?
No. Is that before service?
Position open.
We could
That's the point.
make
Kathy.
Kathy Termy it, and then she can define it any way she wants.
Okay,
If she wants to be the fairy queen of recycling.
He's not here, so I make a motion, we appoint Kathy Termy as recycling coordinator.
I second that.
all in favor, say aye.
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 You should do a great job.
What does a service officer do?
Nobody knows. That's why I ran for it. It's supposed to be if somebody in town has a problem, can't pay to get the rubbish picked up or can't pay the rent or something. The service officer is supposed to be able to help them not help them financially, but help them find
Research.
avenues or resources to go through to
Well,
help
that's good.
them out. I did it in Brookfield. I think it was one person all the time I was there. And when I got all done, I found out she'd already been around the ball once and she was starting in again.
Huh.
And,
Well,
but
now-
I think we have so many other things now, neighbors helping neighbors and fuel assistance and all that stuff that, I don't think it probably will never get used, but
No, now that I know, I'm gonna tell constituents to call up the service officer.
yeah.
Don't bug me, call the service officer.
So I guess, I make a motion, I appoint myself service officer.
I second that. We can, Derry and I can vote on this one, though.
All in favor of Mike being service officer, say aye.
Aye.
Surveyor of wood and timber, we have Paul Harwood currently.
No, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, I make a motion, we appoint Paul Harwood surveyor of wood and timber.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Tree warden, James Ludwig.
Has anything about that changed in the legislature, John? You mentioned it once, a long time ago.
It's changed as far as their job description and the jurisdiction of the tree warden. And I don't know if Jim has been in touch with, or the Forest Parks and Rec gets in touch with tree wardens as far as telling them, sort of, this is your new job. Because we somewhat limited, I think, what, jurisdictional things. So like it used to be, sort of the trees along the highways and things like that, the tree warden, if there was a conflict or a argument over landowners versus, say, Rodney cutting down trees, the tree warden would sort of be the one to make the call on who's right and who's wrong here, and that's changed, I think. So and also things like you don't necessarily, a tree warden doesn't have to come from your town anymore.
Yeah, for that.
Yeah, so there's some changes like that. I'd have to look up, everything that eventually passed, but as far as I know, it's probably a good idea to have a tree warden, but we probably haven't called on them anytime soon.
Didn't you say at one point it was considered, or they were considering having the road foreman be the tree warden, or?
In a lot of towns it is, yeah, because that's, who municipally, who's dealing with most trees in town. Whether it's, in some ways it's funny because probably what Mariah just did by getting that crappy little tree by the historic sign cut down, like that would be a tree warden type thing where, or it's sort of a town-owned tree, and so the tree warden would have weighed in on that somehow, probably. But a lot of it has to do with the tree warden has a lot more power if the town has like a tree policy, and you sort of have an inventory of all your important trees. So you could say like 3 Rod Road up, every tree within the 3 Rod Road, is under road foreman jurisdiction or / tree warden. So, but we don't have that either. So I guess just for now, it's good to have a tree warden. So we should probably appoint Jim for now. I don't know if he wants to do it, but.
If not, we could appoint Rodney.
Right. Well, I'll make a motion, we appoint James Ludwig tree warden.
Okay, I guess if he didn't want to do it, then right, we could appoint Rodney or.
Right.
Okay, I second that.
All right, all in favor of Jim Ludwig, say aye.
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 Wants truant officer this year.
No, I can't do it.
What?
I'm too busy. What,
Then
it was some state police.
The state police do it now, I think, right?
Yeah.
So we could leave that vacant, maybe?
Yeah.
Two Rivers Regional Commission.
Michael Saka was that, so is that what it says there?
Right.
Okay,
So I make a motion, we appoint Michael Saka, Two Rivers Regional Commission representative.
I second that.
all right, all in favor of Michael, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Now, these ambulance people, we deal with them when they come up.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
or they're on until they don't want to be on.
Right.
so.
we should ask about, Rodney and now the town clerk and treasurer and the town nurse. Those would be all interesting questions, since they're employees really who are of the town. How does that work with appointments once
Well,
they're hired?
Apparently we appointed Miss Sneaky at the town meeting.
That's that paper she shoved in front of me and told me to sign?
Yeah, that was pretty quick. That was pretty fast.
It was. I didn't know it is. I thought I was signing over the farm or
I
something.
did. I was helping her lug stuff out to the car, and she said, "Thank you, and thank you for appointing me town clerk." And I said, "We haven't done that yet." And she said, "Oh, yes, you have."
Did we appoint Becky as treasurer?
No,
Okay.
let's appoint. I make a motion. We appoint or hire Becky Hoyt to be treasurer until we're sick of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing we don't have to do every year, right?
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. It'd be interesting what the league said. It was
Famous.
like, you're just hired until, you don't longer want to work, or we fire you.
They either quit or,
Termination.
and
So you just made a motion.
I made a motion that we appoint or hire Becky Hoyt as treasurer, town treasurer.
I second that.
All right, all in favor of hiring Becky Hoyt as town treasurer, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
And who was?
Yeah,
oh,
I'm not.
But we were gonna,
We're gonna wait on that.
we're gonna wait on that.
Well, just because we ought to advertise it somehow or something. And especially
Yeah.
like treasurer and town clerk, we kind of need them on the job, whereas a nurse, we haven't ever had one before. We can delay a couple weeks.
Right.
Well-
And I'm not sure what Mariah had a sign there either. I mean, we didn't make a motion to appoint her.
Why is that different than town clerk?
Well, I mean, we can get by without a town nurse, but I wouldn't want to get by without a town clerk for the time being.
Yeah, but we've never advertised that position.
That's correct. But I think it's crucial that we have a town clerk and a
No,
treasurer.
I'm not arguing with you on that. I'm just saying, why is it different?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's why I'd like to know from the league, just because there are definitely inconsistencies here.
Yeah.
With who we already have, and why we're appointing them at all, year by year, it doesn't make sense to me.
You better check it out because our administrative assistant is on leave.
That's true. All right.
And I guess that's it. Everybody else is elected.
Got to do warrants and orders and
We also,
Yeah.
we also, I think we didn't do it last year either. We have to organize our board.
Oh,
Aren't we supposed to
yes,
do that
we
every
should-
year?
Yes, we are supposed to.
what's it officially called? You sign warrants, orders?
It says warrants here, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
Other than- yeah,
approve warrants.
Okay. I could look at other minutes.
And just to get sidetracked a little bit, I've been reading the history of Corinth, Vermont. Well, it's back in the 1700s,
Do they
17.
have a history?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Anyway, things like where that all started back in 1780, whatever. And there was a reason why they're called warrants. And I don't remember what that reason is, but there's a lot of interesting history about how things are today. I mean, why things are the way they are today.
Yeah.
It all makes sense when you read it.
I remember.
I read some stuff today that was pretty interesting, but I don't remember it.
This is off the subject a little bit, but
More than what I said.
I should have said something to Todd, but I was going through some of my folk stuff and there was a 1946, I think, 45 or 46 newsletter from South Rolton High School.
Right.
And in that, it told how they had the day off when the Germans surrendered.
Yeah.
And they had everybody, they had a gathering and told everybody. And then they had the three ministers
Uh-huh.
come in from the three churches in town. And they
Yeah.
had some prayers and stuff, and then they had the rest of the day off. And another thing they were writing, they wrote down how electricity was gonna affect everyone's lives so much, and there was talk about having radio television.
Yeah.
So you could see,
Yeah.
picture
Yeah.
through radio waves and stuff. And it was pretty funny because
Did they mention cell phones or anything?
not cell phones, but they did a lot of stuff that, you
Right.
wouldn't have thought they'd even have thought of back then.
Well, I do. I
But-
was thinking about it today that remember, 30 years ago when they were talking about someday you'll have a phone that you can,
Yeah.
like the Jetsons
Yeah.
cartoon there, you
Yeah.
can actually see somebody on your
Yeah.
phone. It's like, nah, they won't do that.
Yeah.
And sure
Yeah.
enough, everybody and their brother has
It
one.
was pretty crazy reading it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mike's gonna write a novel about how refrigerators actually can listen to us.
Yeah.
And whoa, actually that happens.
My neighbor has a new I can't think what it is. It's a new refrigerator anyways, EG or whatever. I don't remember what brand it is.
LG.
LG, yeah. And you tap on the front of it and then there's a piece of glass there and it lights up and inside. So you can actually tell that the light goes off and the door's closed. I never knew
I
that.
always wondered that.
Yeah,
Yeah. A little hole so you can look in.
I never did crawl in one.
Oh my God. You can look in and see if your 5-day-old meatloaf is still good
So watch the mold.
without opening the door.
The milk is curved.
Well, we know all the devices listen all the time because we'll be like talking about something, it's like, oh, let's talk about farm old tractors at supper. And then you turn on your computer and there's an ad for it. That is weird. Like, it's not something you talked about, for the last 5 years. And all of a sudden it comes up.
Yeah,
And there's an ad for it. Really creepy.
that's really creepy. You'd be talking about shoes or something, and then you go on your
Yeah.
you get all these shoe ads,
Really?
and you're going, wow.
Yeah. You've never had that happen, Gary?
Oh,
John and I have to watch what we say.
yeah. I keep my computer in the basement.
Gary's gonna get a lot of ads for Corinth. Come move to Corinth.
There are no ads for Corinth.
Emily's asking, are we almost done?
Eli's pretty, almost got things on fire. Oh, he might ask Mike if he needs some sort of head gasket or something for that.
Emily's reporting that Eli's got his doodlebug running, but it's bursting into flames.
No, it's not bursting into flames.
Just have
Anyway.
a pail of water.
Let's not get sidetracked on doodlebugs. We're gonna get ads for doodlebugs now. It's running and driving.
Doodle bugs.
No, that's what the computer's gonna say. What kind of bugs?
What kind of bugs? Doodle bugs.
That's okay. Extermination
Does
services.
Mike
What?
have any, Eli wants to know if Mike has any head gaskets, movie gaskets or something like that.
Do you have head gaskets for doodlebugs? For Model A's. You do?
I can get them. I don't have them
In your pocket.
shop, but
Yeah, okay. Good to know.
What other thing did you need?
Manifold gaskets.
We'll bring you a list, Mike.
And manifold gaskets.
In the manifold gaskets.
yeah, probably get a headset.
Right.
Head gasket and the manifold gaskets and
Yeah. The
little
whole
neck gasket.
kit and caboodle.
My homemade one made out of inner tube.
The whole doodle.
All right, you go have a shower. You're gross.
All right.
All
We're
right.
gonna,
I think
should we
we're
adjourn?
on.
Well, Mike and I are gonna sign the warrants.
Oh, wait, we gotta do board organization. We got sidetracked.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Man, we did.
I make a motion that
We're done.
One second.
we have Gary as chair. Oh, John's whispering.
He's in executive session.
Yes.
What was that? Eli's wanting to make an order, but I said, you can only do farm all fixed business after we adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Gary as chair. Select board chair.
Re-elect Gary for chair.
If
I
had-
second that.
What? Dry
Sure,
crackers?
Sure, I put that in there.
You didn't drop it, did you?
I hope not.
All right, Mike's sidetracked. He forgot the cheese.
Uh-oh.
That's not good.
No, I bought
That's
some today, but I put it in the fridge earlier. Otherwise it'd be in my truck.
Want a dry cracker?
Yeah. Anyway, there's been a motion made and seconded that I be the chairman again.
Damn.
All in favor
Chairperson.
of me being chairman? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay. If I had any sense, I wouldn't have come to town meeting.
Yeah.
I regretted that. For sense.
I bet you have, especially when we went through our legal trail. sign
Yeah,
discussion.
I make a motion that Mike McFeetris continue on as vice chair.
Ooh, chair advice.
I'll second that. Well, yeah, I can second things. I just can't make
Yeah.
motion.
That's right.
All in favor of Mike being vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Nice. I make a motion that we have John O'Brien continue on as clerk, administrative assistant, liaison to the state of Vermont government. How's that?
That's good. I'll second that motion. All in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
You're gonna need a time when you're in the legislature next winter and you're the chair of the Ag Committee, John. So you're
I know.
gonna
I
be,
doubt that. I don't think that's gonna happen, but my route to being chair of the select board is blocked by an institution himself,
Did,
which I'm quite happy about.
did we,
Now we're all gonna give ourselves raises.
ooh. Did everyone get the email from our temporary town clerk about some guy wants to come down the dump and meet?
No.
Can't remember what day it was.
was that today?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think
I mean, because I
so.
didn't have anything this morning.
Yeah,
Who's our temporary town clerk?
Bonnie McCrillis.
but some guy he wants to come down the dump and I printed it off and I forgot it. But he wants somebody there when he's there, and he's gonna put some signs up or something, and he wants to look stuff over.
Is he from Central Vermont
I
Solid Waste
I
District?
think so.
Yeah.
I think so,
Well,
but she didn't know what to do.
we could task Rodney with being there,
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
so he should call the town office. or-
Yeah. I'll get a hold of her. And say Rodney can do it. Then I can get a hold of Rodney.
He's got signs that say if the rec road's muddy, don't go to the dump.
That's right.
Go on legal trail, the Orchard Road legal trail.
Okay,
Any other business?
you gonna,
There was just a Greer thing. What about the parade? Are we good for that? Because we don't have a meeting until. Anything the select board has to do for the parade? For that day?
hand out flags?
Yeah, Mariah was gonna call the sheriff's department to get a deputy each end of town.
Oh, I see we got our speed sign out.
It's working too.
Yeah.
I
blew by that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
25, 27.
24.
Are you racing this weekend, Gary?
I don't know. I probably should.
It's very sad day. Good tactical sad day.
Yep.
First one.
Anyway, back to the parade. Tracy Amell has got things under control.
Yep.
except for the last thing, I think we've got under control, was she needed a PA system for the town hall to announce, and so I called Jen Tigerson, and she has one, so we just need to coordinate that. And does anybody remember who announced the parade last year? I mean, I don't remember.
Hmm.
And I was here too. Because Rob Howe had done it, but I asked him and he said he hasn't done it for a number of
No.
years. Anyway, I put a call into Tracy tonight before I came down, but she wasn't home yet, so we'll figure that out.
Oh.
So I think everything's under control.
Huh, can't remember. When I was here.
Anything else, John?
I don't think so.
All right,
All right,
so Mike and I are gonna finish looking at the warrants.
Okay.
and you're gonna look at the minutes.
Yeah, I gotta type those up.
And there's some minutes here, it says from
Yeah.
2000.
Action items.
But I don't. But
I gotta look through the old one.
get the clerk stuff.
I haven't done that. I gotta call DEC.
Yep.
The clock is ticking.
So I gotta just call Brenda about the signage.
And I
Yeah.
got. And
You got the sheriff, Mike.
Yeah.
Find out if they're humane officers. That'd be great.
yeah,
Even just I was trying to get a geographic map of where humane officers are. I mean, most of the state police barracks probably have one or two, but they're so busy that we'll never get them to do sort of what we want them to do.
I'm afraid
But
of
a
it.
lot of humane,
I'm old.
you know, humane society people. Yeah. I know they're more than just Vermont State Police, so that would be great if we had a one.
Long fading on us.
Yeah, what were you gonna say though? You're afraid of,
Well, I just prayed that even if we got tangled up with that deputy sheriff, that she would be so busy that,
Right. Unless we budget for them.
yeah,
Yeah. So should we make a motion to adjourn? Just so I can put it in the minute?
yeah. I make a motion, we adjourn.
you second that motion, John?
I second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
All right,
Aye. Can you stop?
8:02. When did we get started?
Like,
it was
It
late,
was delayed, but
6:10 or something.
oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I put 6:15. I think it was leaving late on
That's
6:10.
probably
It's more accurate.
more accurate.
And whatever happened to the owl?